photography students. We're going to test your skills. Here's how to do the project. So here's your assignment. It's the Skills USA Restoration Project. There is a page here that is your overview. This gives you specific instructions on what to do. So you're trying to bring these together, build areas that are no longer there, clean up spots and scratches, crop out the old mat, etc., etc. So we have this information. We might want to hold on to this, so I'm going to open this in a new window and download this so I have this file so I can hold on to that and review it when I need to. I'm going to repeat that process so I can close this window and repeat that process here for my JPEG. So image to JPEG, same thing, click, open new window, download. Put it in my downloads for now. It's just going to be temporarily. Close. Get back to this. Image number 1, same thing. Download. And so now I have both of my images and my instructions all together. So I can get into Photoshop here. So in Photoshop, I could start with a new document. So if you look at the instructions, I have 2 JPEGs and my overview here. So one, it says make the image a 4:6 at 300 dpi. So I might just start a little bit bigger than that and then crop down to that size, because it does also say that we want to crop out the old mat. And we might need to do some alignment and stuff. So 4:6 is a little small to start. So I might start by doing like an 8:12, which is comparable, and at 300 dpi, and then make my crop at the end. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go new file, and it also says 300 dpi. So I know if I click on photo for print, that for sure gets me started with 300 dpi. So that's one kind of just a little shortcut that I'll do sometimes. And then I'll just say my last name dot restoration, and maybe make this so 8 and 12, and it should be like this. Actually, we're gonna do a landscape, so it's 12:8, 300 resolution right here. That's what I was talking about. RGB color is fine for this. We're gonna leave it in white. Working space square pixels. This looks good. Create. So now I have this. And the first thing I want to do is I want to get the 2 images in here. The best way to do that is to place them in. So file, place is the best way to do it. I want to place, and I think I'm going to do embedded. Linked sometimes makes the file size smaller, but it can get complicated with where the original images are. So place embedded is the safest way to go on a project like this. So that's what I'm going to do. I know that I put them temporarily in my desktop. Have to hit OK on that. I'm going to grab one. I think I have to grab one at a time, and I do. Leave it as a JPEG. Hit place. Place. And there's the first one. And I'm just going to slide it over here. And I can hit the check mark here or hit the return key on my keyboard. And I'm going to do the second one. File, place, embedded. Image 2. Place. Bring that over here. And you can see what I was talking about, how I wanted a little bit of extra space. Again, check mark or return. Notice those come in as 2 different layers. 1 layer, 2 layer, and I have a background white layer. So 3 layers to start. And what I want to do is I want to start by using some masking techniques to straighten things out, and then start going from there. So if I notice this image is less straight and maybe a little bit smaller, so I'm going to start by big adjustments first and then smaller adjustments down the road. So biggest adjustment that I see first right off the bat is that the size and skew is not right. So what we want to do is we want to transform this. So the shortcut, or the long way to do it, is edit transform down here. The fast way or shortcut is Command T for free transform, And then I'm going to hover over here and rotate like this to just straighten it. And you can hit the check mark up here or return on your keyboard. I'm gonna pull this down. This is a ruler, a guide, and I'm gonna pull this down so I can see a little bit better. Command T again. And now that's gonna let me make sure that I'm making this straight. I think that looks good. I'm gonna use my move tool and move this up into the corner. I don't think I need this guide right now, so I'm just gonna move that out of the way. I am having a little trouble. If you notice, like, it's like clicking weird, like it won't let me put it right to the spot I want. So I'm gonna go up here to view, and so here's what we're getting. We're getting a snap, and so it's snapping to guides, layers, documents, all of these things. I'm gonna turn my snap off there, and I'm gonna look here. Yeah, none of these are on now, so snap to, we could say none. That would, let's just make sure how that works. Snap to, none, so they're all turned off. So let's see how that works if I can move this. See, I can move it a little more freely. Sometimes the snap helps, but in this situation it was not helping. Okay, so I have that kind of lined up at the top edge like this one. And if you notice, it's still not it's not matching up size-wise. So I'm gonna do a Command T again, and this time grab it here. Make sure to hold Shift. You have to hold your, oh wait, I'm sorry. That's the old way in Photoshop. In Photoshop now, don't hold Shift. Make sure you're not holding Shift. Increase the size there. I think I need to increase it just a tiny bit this way. I am gonna pull down a guide now and see, now I'm off here. Inside of that frame, inside of this frame. So you can see where we have some issues happening. So if I match those up there, so Command T, Shift, drag, no Shift, don't do Shift. There. I'm getting close. I think our size is pretty close. Good. Now, if I start moving this and hold Shift when I do, it'll allow me to bring these together. Before I do that, though, I am seeing that there's like this whiteness back here and on here. Let's remove that so that we can more easily move forward with this. So to do that, we're going to mask each of these. I'm going to use my selection tool. I'm going to actually use specifically a magic wand selection on this layer. Click here, and I think it did a pretty good job of selecting it. Let's click on this mask and invert that mask. Double click it, invert. I think we did okay. I think it removed most of it. Look, you can see a little bit on the edge here. We can get into that more detailed later. Click on image 1, click here, same exact thing. I still see some down here. I wonder if I can try a different way to select it. Command D to deselect, and try and do a select color range. Color range, sample here, and we can increase or decrease the fuzziness. Let's grab more of that. Let's get the range up. I don't want it to grab the picture. What if I undo that and reduce this? So I'm just watching here until this is all gone. I only want it to have the white selected. I think somewhere right there. And hit OK. That looks a lot better. It's selecting all of this white over here. And I'm going to mask that and invert it. We're a little closer to where we want to be. Now, I think the next step I want to do is try to get the tonal range to match here. And to do that, we might have to work with our adjustments panel here. This is something we looked at before. And before we do that, I think what we really want to do is try to do some auto. We're gonna let Photoshop do some of the heavy lifting here. So let's start with this picture here and come across over here and go image, auto, tone, contrast, color, and let's just see how each of those resolve some issues. So if you notice that tone adjusted the tonal range in here a little bit, let's try and do that again with the contrast and the color. And not much on the contrast. The color was adjusted a little. Okay, so let's take a look at this one and do the same thing. I was hoping for better results on that. Okay, not a huge change in the color here, which is frustrating me. Interesting. So there are a couple of options we can go through here, and one of those is to get into our adjustments layer over here, and we can adjust in the hue and saturation and in the color balance. And let's try that to start and see where we get. So I'm gonna start with our color balance, and I see a lot of magenta in this picture and a little bit of green in that picture. So kind of doing the opposites, right? So pulling this one to the right to make it like less magenta and more green. And I'm trying to focus on this one and seeing that this has too much green, and so we're gonna clip it. So this color balance layer currently is affecting all layers underneath it. So what I want to do is clip it to just image 2 layer, which is the one on the right and not the one on the left. So I'm gonna option hover between, see that little symbol, click, there we go. So now this only affects here and not here, and so that's gonna allow me to look at it better. Here, I'm moving it less, overdid it, a little bit to the red, and a little more to the green. Now, I don't want to go too green though, because a little to the blue, because I want to bring that other image, the other half of the image, back to this side a little bit. So I'm gonna go there, something like that. And so now I'm gonna do, so that this color balance is affecting here. So I'm gonna click on this one and click on my color balance again and clip this one to this image like that. So this one's affecting here and this one's affecting here. So this new color balance here is too green, so I'm going to bring it back to the magenta side and a little bit to the red side. Something's not quite, oh, there we go, a little more to the blue. It's getting close. It's not perfect, but we're getting pretty close here. And close is where we want to be right now. Maybe too much here. Can't quite finish this. Okay, good. I'm gonna leave it right there for now because we're close, and that's good. So awesome. Here we are. We're pretty darn close here. Here's the trick: is eventually we're going to make this into black and white, and so when we do that, then some of these tonal ranges will soften up on their own. So good. Let's look at us bringing this together and fixing up the missing parts. So I'm going to move this layer from here, and like I said before, I'm going to hold shift and drag it across. So now we're pretty lined up. Some pieces are missing. I actually think, yeah, something close there. And so I'm looking here. I wonder if I need to clean up this selection here. So on this selection, I missed some of this gray here. So I wonder if I can get that with a, oh, look at that. Let's make sure. So we want to be on this layer. And I tried to use like a little magic wand selection. I'm not sure that that's going to solve the problem. I'm going to, let's try if we do a select color range. And I get in here specifically. No, it's not looking at the right thing. That might be working. Ah, much better. Okay, and let's mask this again. Let's just, we're gonna click here, and we're gonna say fill this selection with black, and it'll take this away. Edit, fill with black. See how that just added a little bit more to this? Command D. I think that helped. Okay. Back in to making this adjustment. So I'm going to move this, holding shift, bring them together. So I'm really focused in on this guy. And I'm using my arrow key to nudge. And you can see this guy's shoulder and this guy's face are going to be the hardest two things to deal with. I think that might be where we need to be, right in there. And now some of this we're going to have to rebuild, and some of this we're going to be able to just piece it together. So so how do we do it? So the next step, what I'm going to do is, so I have all of this stuff happening here in my layers panel. What I want to do is collect all of that stuff and smash it together on a single layer that I can easily edit. I'm going to do a Command Option Shift E, and that's going to make a whole new layer up here. If I shut all of this off, you see I have just this. I can zoom in and start making the fixes that I need. Now, I will tell you, I can't pull these apart anymore. They're one piece. So, if you didn't do a good enough job aligning them yet, then don't do this yet. Go back to this layers, turn them back on, and adjust them so that they fit together better. I'm not making mine perfect, so I'm going to go in and show you how to make the adjustments that you need to make, and then I'll let you spend more time fixing it up. So there are a couple of tools that I like to use. There's a clone stamp tool that some people like to use. There's a content aware tool. There's a patch tool, which is sometimes useful. These are all good. The healing brush and the healing tool are both probably my best two tools to use here. So I really like to use the healing brush here. This healing tool allows us to target a spot. So target a spot, like let's just say this spot right here. I target here, and I can click and replace this spot here with the spot where I originally targeted. So for example, like I could target right on this edge here, click, and then come right over here and hold my adjustment in line here and click. That wasn't perfect, so I'm going to try it again. And I am noticing that these two lines aren't exactly in line, so it's going to be a little tricky, but I think we'll be okay for today's example, like that. And then as I go through, I can click. Two things I might think about. One, using the align button here. And right now it's only on current layer and I only have one layer, but if I was looking at multiple layers, I might want to switch this to all layers. For now, current layer is good. And sometimes I'll switch from normal mode to replace mode, depending on how difficult the sampling is. So I'm gonna go here and try to gather information from multiple spots. So see right here, this is a bigger chunk. So if I go from normal to replace, that's probably gonna give me better results here. I'm noticing that this is pretty dark. So I'm gonna use this here. And so I'm in replace, and I also typically soften this brush way down, 15, 10%, something like that. Make it a little bigger. And I'm just trying to gently blend everything together so that it looks like it should look, like it belongs. One of the concerns is that sometimes a line helps here, because then the brush moves with you. So see how it moves to different spots for you? This can work. This is looking pretty good to me. It's gonna take a little bit of time. Sometimes you get repeated patterns, and so then I try to break those up. Now, it's gonna be a little trickier when you're working here. Smaller brush, zoom in tight, same technique though. Here, here. Ooh, notice I got his little button there and that showed up, so don't do that. So here. We're starting to build that back up. That looks pretty good. And you can see what I'm doing as I back out, that starts to look pretty good. It's gonna get trickier and trickier as you get down here. Okay? This looks pretty good to me. If I continue going, you can see how this is gonna end up. Good, okay. So after I finish that, I'm probably gonna get in here and get into the black and white mode here. And now in the black and white mode, you can adjust the tonal range of this. And look at where is this where I can increase some tonal range into the trees, and then make it look like it all fits together again, right? And then at the end, once we do that, we can also add a little tint to it if we wanted to have that black tone, but at least now the tint is all the same tint, right? So we can adjust that tone of the tint as well. Oh, that's way too much. I need to be down here somewhere in this range. Okay, you can decide what the tint is that you want to use. And so now that restoration piece is starting to look more natural. Don't do this final black and white and tint until you've fixed all the pieces here. And don't worry about the frame, because we're gonna cut that off, right? So fix up everything in the middle here. Okay, so let's just say we've finished all of that and we have our tint done, and now we want to crop it to our original size. We want to go up to our crop tool here. Don't do original ratio, because we have a specific size we need to crop to. If you remember, back here, it told us how big to make it. So we've brought image 1 and 2 together. We've rebuilt a bunch of the areas. We've cleaned up. Oh, we didn't clean up the spots and scratches. I should have showed you that. Let's do that really quick. So to clean up some of the spots and scratches here, we do want to get a layer not on our black and white layer. So I am again going to Command Option Shift E, or I could also just merge these two layers together. I can merge, since I haven't done that much. So I'm just gonna, so I selected layer 1 and layer 2 with a shift click, and then I merge layers here. That was a right click, merge layers. Okay. So now here I am in my black and white layer, and And I don't know how well this is going to work because I haven't cleaned up all this stuff. But there is a filter, noise, and dust and scratches here. That does work pretty well still. And you can click in here to see if there are any spots that are still scratched up and dusty. You can also, so this is my pixels, that's a 2 pixel radius. You could also do a 1 pixel radius. I like that better. Notice that the higher up you go here, you start to get fuzzy and lose detail. So I really want to be 1 or 2 pixels. I think I'm going to go with 1 pixel because it keeps it crisp, but gets rid of some of the dust and scratches. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to hit OK, and that gives me my results. I'm going to Command Z that. Let's see. Let's merge those back together. I am going to duplicate this so we can compare. And so here we are. Just let's compare before and after on the dust and scratches. 1 pixel. Hit OK. And let's see. New one, old one. It got rid of, so if you notice up in here, in this area specifically up here, it does adjust it quite a bit. And in all these areas here, actually, yeah, it helps. It softens, yeah. That's the way to go. 1 pixel. Very good. Okay. Now let's do our crop. So, well, let's take a look back here actually. So we cleaned up the spots and scratches. We're going to crop out the old mat and make it the right size. We kept the sepia, enhanced the overall clarity, and then save it and post it into the assignment. So all we have left to do is get the right size, 4x6 at 300 DPI. And so we want to make it a very specific crop. If you click on this crop here and change it from original ratio here up to width, height, resolution, here you can make it a width of 6, height of 4, and notice that says pixels. We don't want to do that, so 6IN and 4IN for inches, and 300 DPI, pixels per inch. So now that's our new crop size, and I can move this stuff out of the way here so I can zoom out a little bit and see my crop. So I'm going to bring this down here, and I'm going to this edge right here on there, and I'm going to grab this corner here and get that edge over, bring this down, and to make this the size that is required, I am going to have to take a little bit off the top, a little bit off the bottom, to make it into a 4x6 at 300. And so you can decide, I think I want to keep this little, I think it's like a little flower down there or something. Maximize this outside edge, so I'm getting it right to the edge here, right to the edge over here. So when I crop this, it will be a 4x6 at 300, so go ahead and hit the check mark here. How can I double check that that's the right size? Image size, 4 inches by 6 inches, 300 resolution right there. Okay. And now you can save this file and turn it in. All right, that should get you where you need to go. If you have any questions or concerns, send me an email or message me in the Google Classroom. Thanks for paying attention. Good luck.